Business is indeed booming. NASCAR, basically every week this season since the Daytona 500, has had double-digit increases in TV ratings. And while there are some very simple reasons for it, I think that some are being overlooked. And being the hypercritical and honestly just kind of hyperfixated person I am, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I wanted to look at other reasons why, compounding reasons, and I came up with 6 reasons why more people are watching NASCAR this year than last, and maybe even a couple others before it. So let's roll right on into it. First off, the obvious. Chase Elliott is racing. No duh. Yeah, of course. Last year, Chase Elliott was out after race number 2, and it was pretty clear in the ratings that there was, at least in part, a decrease due to Elliott being out. Again, many races last year, even when he was back, were out, so I don't think it was completely Chase Elliott, but it is a big reason why. Many fans would only watch if their favorite driver were in the race. I'll pose this question to many of you who might scoff at that ideal. How many times, whether it be currently or in the past, would you skip out on truck or Xfinity races had your favorite driver like Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Dale Earnhardt Jr., whoever it might be, had not been racing in them? I know it was only until about 3-4 years ago I may have watched half of the Xfinity races and a third of the truck races a season. Now, whether it be for my job or my pure enjoyment, I do not miss any of those races no matter what. I have to watch them, but for most fans, they're not going to watch unless somebody good is there. And for the longest time, the only ones I was a surefire watch for were Daytona, Talladega, and whatever the hell Dale Jr. was in. And I think that a new season also brings new hope for fans as well. Many of them may have stayed away after Chase, let's just say, frankly, sucked at different points of the season compared to his normal racing. And now you have a new season. Even if he's not doing as well as you want, there is hope that the season will get better, and you don't have to have it abruptly cut off because of an injury. Secondly is Netflix, and I know there's a lot of diehard fans who probably are just frankly sick of hearing over and over and over again about how great this Netflix documentary is, the next Drive to Survive, as everyone always says. But to see how good of an opening it had and how many people came into the sport from watching it just because it was pretty interesting to them, whether they be IndyCar and F1 fans who may have never given NASCAR a chance, or just complete casuals who thought, hey, that's actually kind of interesting, I want to learn more. It does open up to new people and new demographics. And I think with that, you're going to have this opening now, a door that is going to be there forever, or at least until Netflix takes it off of its streaming platform, which is completely possible, because you can be just scrolling through documentaries, scrolling through your recommended on Netflix, and just stumble upon this. I'm not saying necessarily it's going to bring people by the droves in, that we're back, baby, it's the 2000s again, 10 million watching a week at home, 100,000 plus in the stands every week. It's not going to be like that, but when you have people have that option there, and it's easier to see than just trying to find it on TV when they're not even looking for it, that can have a profound impact over time. Thirdly is the schedule. The Daytona 500, even run on a Monday, had a lot of people watching in prime time. And while it averaged only about 6 million watching, which is one of the lowest watched Daytona 500s ever, that kind of hype that the schedule brought and that Daytona brings would only filter over to the next week at Atlanta. Atlanta, being a super speedway, would continue this quick, fast-paced racing, this cutthroat drafting style track that many see NASCAR for. Those newer fans who might have come for the next week to see what they would get, instead of getting, say, a Phoenix, a Las Vegas, an Auto Club, would get more of the same. And while they would probably hear in the broadcast that it'd be a little bit different the next week, would come in the next week to Las Vegas. A mile and a half, but unlike Atlanta, without the super speedway aspect to it, that follows the trend that next-gen cars have had since 2022 of racing really, really damn well on those mile-and-a-half tracks. And you had a pretty good finish out of it too. Then you had Phoenix. Moving on. Then you have Bristol this past week, which had a resurgence back to the spring concrete date that it had for so long. And while the stands were empty in a lot of places, it was pretty clear there were more people in them than a lot of the previous years at Bristol. And on TV, a lot of people watched as well and seemed very happy. Now coming up, you got COTA as well as a couple others that may not be the greatest necessarily because of the car, but you still have a lot of intrigue and different looking tracks that add variety into this season for new fans and offer even more of a learning experience. Fourthly, let's just not beat around the bush. The racing so far has been way better than last year. That doesn't change people watching in the moment. You're not going to have 100,000 people call their friends and go, "Hey man, this Daytona race is really good, tune in." No, that's just not how that works. But in the following week or weeks, it will continue to improve, which is probably why we're seeing at least some new people stay longer, because it's entertaining to watch. When only one race out of the first 5 is boring or at least straightforward the way that NASCAR fans would look at it, that is not a bad thing whatsoever. And it just incentivizes you to watch more. Outside of the Phoenix race, the racing has been way better than last year, which was a pretty straightforward season. Not much happened off the track the way it did in 22, and unlike 2022, you didn't have that intrigue of the new car to kind of mask some of the problems it had. Plus, when you have a legendary finish like the Atlanta one, well, that always helps. Now, penultimately, I will say word of mouth was a part of it. Not like it used to be, not talking around the water cooler per se, but probably more on social media over the last couple weeks and month or plus. You see, say what you will about Icy Vert and all the attention given to him, he knows how to get noticed and how to go viral. And you know what? Good on him. I respect that. Other viral moments as well have been online, and that adds up over time, whether it be the next-gen car in general, the Hail Melon, the Garage 56 entry, you name it. This gets NASCAR in the public square and discussion more. And the Atlanta finish was a big part of this aspect. People were talking about it. It was going all over the place, going viral. And before you know it, you have people trying to check it out. It's going to take a lot of these kind of things and a lot more of people talking about it that can get it out there. But it's a really good step for the start of this season. And finally, you have you guys watching at home. And what do I mean by that? Well, the diehard base. In my opinion, the diehard base has stabilized a lot in recent years. Now, I will admit I do not have any hard empirical data to back this up, but more or less the fact that the lower series especially have been having more people stick around and watch them. And say what you want again about how good or bad the racing is, not many casuals are watching the truck series. It's going to be diehards watching that. Same goes a little less, but still for the Xfinity series. Diehards for a long time had been falling away from NASCAR, especially since the 2000s to about, I'd say, 2018 when Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired. But with this stable increase of the lower series, as well as the floor getting a little bit higher for the Cup Series when it comes to people watching, it seems like the diehards are maybe not coming back, but strengthening in numbers. And with that, I would say if the diehards are going away, you can't expect casuals to stay. And that's just not happening right now. So having a true large fan base, a diehard fan base that is that big and growing will make it stable. And that stability will be able to help NASCAR grow and support an even larger audience in the future. Look at how stable that core diehard base was before the 1990s and 2000s boom that NASCAR had. It was huge. It was the biggest cult following sport in America, and NASCAR will have a lot of work to do to get back to that point, but I think they can. So most of us diehards are probably pretty biased on this, but I want to ask you guys, why do you think more people are watching this year? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you're a diehard or casual, I invite you to come out tonight to Black Flags Matters channel for the NASCAR Weekly Podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have special guest Ellie Productions, who is going to be a ton of fun to talk to. He's a great YouTuber, and you should subscribe to his channel. So until the show tonight, have a good one.